Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday night. And Graham Rahal has made, I think, 18 Indy 500 starts. I think he was like 18 when he won his first race down in St. Pete. And certainly when it comes to IndyCar racing and Mid-Ohio and Buckeye lifestyle and all of that, there are two things about IndyCar that have made me nauseous. One is when I did a two-seater on a road course, I was very nauseous. And the other is anytime Graham Rahal starts talking about Ohio State. But he knows the Buckeyes better than anybody, and I figured he would be the perfect person to preview it, and he joins us now on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Graham, you fired up for the game?
I am, brother. I am. Hey, I don't rub it in too much. I was rubbing it in more to you when Clemson was actually a good football program, but yeah. That's changed, brother.
Listen, how about the beginning, and I'm trying to think of where we were on opening Saturday, and you and I are talking, and I was in Nashville. And Clemson's playing LSU, and I'm saying, yeah, Clemson, there's a lot of expectation for them. And then they go out, and it was just flat. And the next day you come up to me and you go, well, your defense is terrible, and your quarterback I don't believe in. And I said, okay, well, other than that. And
was I wrong?
I know. It was a good scouting report, right? And then, then we also, I think both of us were kind of incredulous over Arch Manning, and I think we expected more out of what he would be able to do for Texas in that opening game, and maybe we didn't give enough credit to Ohio State's defense because we thought, okay, Arch Manning's too young, this moment's too big for him, and that Ohio State defense is obviously elite. Do you see that as the biggest challenge for Indiana Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, first off, I think it's super cool to see Indiana in the position they're in. It's in fact, to me, the most fascinating storyline that I've ever witnessed. I mean, the rise of the program from the cellar to being one of the top teams in the nation in 2 years, or even less, really, is an unbelievable thing, right? I mean, it is absolutely incredible what Cignetti has done, and but I do think that, Ohio State on the whole this year, and we'll see what this weekend brings, but Ohio State on the whole this year has been absolutely dominant in every facet of the game. And if I could see one weakness in Indiana, it's just that, that Penn State game was a concern. Like, the Penn State deal, I really thought they were going to blow Penn State out. Penn State has obviously been going through some tough times, going through some coaching changes, so on and so forth. And they really didn't do that, right? The performance wasn't really awe-inspiring like you may have thought. But at the end of the day, I think Ohio State's D is going to present them all the challenges in the world. But I do also think they're going to score points. I don't think that this is going to be, like what we've seen year to date, right? I mean, where basically nobody can score on Ohio State. I mean, and that's not me saying as an arrogant fan. That's the reality, right? So we'll see.
Now, is that to say that you're admitting to being an arrogant fan?
Not a chance. Hey, I'll tell you this right now. I'm confident this weekend. I'm not overconfident this weekend. I think Indiana's got a shot. Just be clear. But I also don't think this is a home game like most things. You watch. There's going to be a lot of Buckeyes, yours truly included. They're going to be there screaming loud and proud. I know that.
To me, Graham, and you're right. I mean, the Indiana story is truly, and listen, I'm here up front talking about it every week for the last 2 years, and it still is surreal, right? Of like, this really, and the reality is this, and I realize it's not like you're watching every other team every other Saturday, but Graham, would you agree with this? I think we can emphatically say these are the two best teams in college football right now in terms of
no doubt
totality, right? I mean, on both sides of the football for both of them, right?
Dude, I'm calling it right now. Georgia is half. They are not that great. I'm telling you right now, Alabama is overrated as hell. How Alabama is high of a seed as they are is only for one reason, because their name and their brand. To me, the Texas Tech thing, TBD, right? I'm not 100% sold on that. Oregon, I actually don't think Oregon is that good. Now, this is me going on my rant. I watch a lot of football, but I'm not going to claim to be an expert. But I don't think that there is any teams as complete as Ohio State and Indiana this particular year. And, to me, this weekend's matchup is a killer opportunity. The biggest thing for me is I hope these teams don't get slighted by taking a loss. You would hate to see, and I'm not saying they're not going to make play. Clearly, they're in the playoffs. My point, though, is you'd hate to see one of them drop, too far because they don't deserve it, right? They certainly shouldn't drop more than maybe to number 3. When you look at it, and that's saying that's basing on Georgia actually winning. So, overall, we'll see, I suppose.
Graham, in racing, Graham Rahal is my guest, Java House, Peel and Port Guest Line. In racing, we use a term called turn up the wick. So, like in the Indy 500, it's the last 25 laps of the race. Now let's turn up the wick. Let's get everything we have out of the car, and let's go. It's the final stint. Do you believe that, offensively speaking, that Ohio State, is there still another level on the notch for the Buckeyes to turn up the wick? Has Ryan Day, to use a racing term, been sandbagging a little bit on what that offense can do?
Yeah. So to answer the question, I got to be careful what I say because I got a lot of buddies there. I hear more. I asked a buddy this very question earlier this year. I said, explain it to me. We're not putting up a ton of points. We're not doing this. He said, look, flat out, the objective is simple. We want to play one less game by the end of the year than everybody else. We want to control the play clock. We'll move the ball and count. That's number one. But he said, you remember the Penn State game? I said, yep. He goes, you remember the third quarter? I said, I do. He goes, we put up 21 points in 5 minutes. I said, yep. He goes, that was fourth gear. We knew that we didn't play the first half the way we wanted to. We knew we had to come out in the second and pull a gap in a very short period of time. And that's precisely what we did. And, to me, that's pretty damn cool to hear. That's what makes me as a Buckeye fan more confident than last year or any other year. I feel, and again, this isn't to say, honestly, that Ohio State's going to go and win this weekend, but I feel there is a control within this team that they've never had before. Like, they are truly in control of what is going on. They're in control of the play clock. They're in control of the time of possession. Dude, look what they did to Michigan. Not only did they beat them, but they weren't trying to run up the score, clearly, but they had 40 minutes time of possession. They just held the ball. That was their objective. Hold the ball. Keep the ball. And, that's the thing that's going to be interesting as compared to Indiana, who, in my eyes, Indiana's a faster-paced team. They're gunslingers. Mendoza is going to try to push the ball down the field at all times. They're a little bit of a faster pace of play, typically, and they're willing, clearly, to run up scores. Ohio State this year has been the opposite mentality. Keep the score count, keep the play count low, and they don't really care if they win by 20 or if they win by 40. It's not really an objective, and I think that's been pretty cool to see this year.
Where is Ohio State, from what you've seen, Graham, where is Ohio State susceptible?
I think actually they're cornerbacks. They have, a couple of good experienced guys, but they have a lot of youth. You're starting to see Jermaine Matthews play a lot more. I think he's a sophomore. But you're also seeing a lot of true freshmen out there, Devin Sanchez, some of these guys. So I think, to me, that's what's make it a little bit more interesting is the matchups on the sides. Ohio State's strength is going to be their D-line again, the center of their D. Of course, their safeties and linebackers, arguably the best linebackers in the country, arguably the best safety in the country, and Caleb Downs. He's a smart player. I think that ultimately will limit a little bit of the rushing attack that Indiana has. But on the corners, I do think that, Ohio State can be susceptible to the crossing routes and some of the deeper plays. That it'll be interesting to see how that, plays out this weekend with Mendoza, who obviously, is obviously a pretty damn good thrower. So I don't know, man. That's my quick take on this thing.
If this were any other team but Ohio State, let's just say that if Ohio, and I'll put it to you this way, if Ohio State was allowed, if they said, you know what, Ohio State, you're the defending national champion, so we're going to let you sit out the Big Ten game and pick the opponent for Indiana. And so they just pick an opponent, okay? And it's not Michigan, Oregon, whoever. If it were anybody but Ohio State, would you be rooting for Indiana Saturday?
Hell yeah, man. Of course I would. Absolutely I would.
Because it's kind of a second home, or because of the
home,
Cinderella story of it?
No, it's been home for an extended period of time. I mean, it has. It's, I've been here since 2010. I mean, for me, living in this, in this city and stuff, it's a cool story. And at the same time too, man, I never take the success for granted as a fan. I mean, Ohio State fans are truly the most selfish or the most spoiled people in the country, because we lose one or two games and it's the end of the world, right? But you look at programs like Alabama and some of these others they're not used to. But for me, I think it's just a damn cool story. It's great to see, Indiana having the success they're having. And when you have fans that have remained that loyal and the diehards and so on and so forth, I think it's cool to see them get rewarded with, with some great performances for sure.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you. As a Clemson fan, I never thought this situation would come where I'm looking to see how much hotel rooms are in El Paso. You know what I mean? I mean, it's it's just the way it goes.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was excited about going to the championship game this weekend. I took it for granted. I was like, you know what? I used to buy a suite every year in advance and blah, blah, blah. The company paid for it. It was good fun. And last couple of years, I was like, I'm done freaking buying a stupid thing, having to watch Michigan play. I'm not doing it anymore. So I stopped, right? So I was like, this year, I'm like, this would be great. We'll get to the end of the year, and then I'll make a decision. Well, Indiana gets in, and this is the most outrageously priced event I didn't end up doing a suite or anything. I got very fortunate. A buddy of mine is going to give me a couple of tickets. But I'm like, dude, what? I invited you. I said, hey, bro, I'm going to buy a suite. You want to go? And you're like, yeah. And then I go to look up a suite. Yeah, one got sent to me for an outrageously, embarrassingly high price. I was like, nope, I'm good.
And here's the other thing, Graham, and I appreciate the offer, right? And I'm glad you're going to be going. But the other thing, too, is you've also got to, in terms of the company money, you got to replace windows over at the company, don't you? Didn't you have something that happened over there recently?
Yeah, man, we got shot with I don't know. We got a couple pellet, some high-powered pellet gun, although somebody was on campus and working at Bodie's at the chop house that we've got up here, and they said it did sound like a bullet. But we believe it's a pellet gun. Shattered two of our windows. Just got the bill for it, $15,000. So if those kids are listening, thank you. Two juveniles. They went from us either to Lebanon, shot out some windows in Lebanon, or went from Lebanon to us. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's a shame because they're juveniles. The town of Zionsville, the police department did a wonderful job finding them, but we get no details. I told them, hey, bring them on over here. We'll teach them a lesson. They can start sweeping the parking lot. We'll put them to work. They can pay through pay for the windows the hard way. But it is what it is. I mean, it's disappointing for sure. But hopefully it doesn't become a pattern. I know that.
Well, lastly, Graham, and I know you're in town. Well, I mean, you live here, obviously, but you said you got IndyCar meetings. What are going on? What's going on with the meetings today? Is this basically everybody just sitting around figuring out who's driving where this year? Because you got a new teammate, right?
No, yeah, this is a series, meetings that we do every year, and meet with I don't know who from Penske, but obviously Novak and all the boys will be there. And so, I mean, I think it's a time to give some opinions, not only on the fundamentals of the series, but race control, future events, things like that. And so I'd imagine a lot of the drivers will be there. But, yeah, man, I'm off to that right now.
Now, you've got Mick Schumacher as a teammate now, Michael Schumacher's son. This is new. This came about 2 weeks ago. I wanted to ask you about that real quick before we let you go. Just, your excitement level or how much you know about him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty pumped about Mick. He's a great kid. I mean, a super, super great kid. Very, very humble. You can tell from a great family. And I was actually morning, engineering Zoom and stuff. I think you just connected my car. But anyway, engineering Zoom and stuff with Mick. And I'm pretty pumped up about him, man. I think he's going to be a great asset, not only to us, but to the sport. I think people are really going to take well to him. He's a super nice guy. His mom, mom was an absolute doll to all the people, to all of our people, all of our staff when they came in. I think that's just, that speaks volumes to him, to his family. I was telling somebody today, like, you think about the prime of Michael Schumacher and what Mick grew up in, on a worldwide scale,
when you talked about fame at that time, you talked about Tiger Woods, you talked about Michael Jordan, and you talked about Michael Schumacher, right? And yet, here comes in this kid who's, so humble, down to earth, just a great guy, and his mom's the same. It's sweet, man, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Okay, lastly, Graham, is this the first of 2 meetings for Ohio State and Indiana this year?
I don't know. I'd say this. I think both have a good chance as long as the latter, works and they just win out. They get to the final, right? But I to me, it's a long playoff this year, and I think it's going to be interesting to see. Well, let's put it this way: they both have got to get buys, I think, and if they both get buys, then I think they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think they will. I do think they will, and they both deserve it for sure. Graham Rahal, IndyCar season will be here before we know it. It starts out, I believe, in St. Pete, if I'm not mistaken, but that's still like 4 months down the road. Football to be played between now and then. Graham, certainly enjoy the game on Saturday night. I appreciate the time. I'm not going to say go Bucks. I'm not going to go that far for you. I want to see Indiana win this game, but we shall see what happens. But I appreciate the time as always.
That sounds good. We'll loop back next week and see what happens.
All right, sounds good. Graham Rahal joining us, Java House, Peel and Pour guest line. That's a pretty good breakdown, though, about Ohio State, their corners, crossing patterns, etc. Speaking of the Big Ten, there is the other sport that is played within it, and it was played last night at a very high level. A look back at what undoubtedly to me is the best team in the country and what happened last night. We'll get to that next.